Hi, and welcome back to our Classic Television Societies. We're having so much fun, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's what it was about. Food, fun.
Food, fun, and festivities.
Yes.
All the S. Okay. Keep it clean. Okay, here we go. So, Tom Watson, producer, author. Michael Stern, Lucille Ball's knighted #1 fan and author of I Had a Ball. And Frank Gorey. Each of these gentlemen have played an important role in the life and career of the one and only Lucille Ball. One of them portrayed one of her TV sons. Another...
Well, he's not here.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Jimmy Garrett.
Yeah.
I take that back. He's not here. Another remained a loyal confidant for decades. A loyal confidant, and two others have worked diligently for decades to chronicle and sustain Miss Ball's life and work in its rightful, elegant place in TV history. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Garrett is not here. Producer, author, personal assistant to Miss Ball, Thomas Watson. Author Michael Stern, Lucy's #1 fan. I can't wait to hear about that. And Mr. Frank Gorey, her right-hand colleague and trusted friend. Welcome.
Frank, how you doing? You look so sharp.
Thank you.
Look at that tie.
Thank you.
Hi. You want to Oh, thank you for being here.
Oh, I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
I love that.
Thank you.
Here.
You're gonna sit there?
Herbie?
Yeah, Frank, you sit right
Sit
there.
right in the center.
You
We'll
get the
sit on
last
either
seat
side
there,
of you.
Karen.
Why don't you sit
There we go.
How's that?
Welcome. Let's have a nice hand for the Lucy Brigade. We're talking about Christmas, and there was I Love Lucy. There was the Lucy Show. Here's Lucy. So Tom, let's start with you. What are some of the prime Lucy Christmas episodes where I think I just saw one the other day where she's not really singing Jingle Bells and she thinks she is. Jingle bells. When Ricky and Ethel are singing.
Right, she's singing terribly off key.
Yeah.
Actually, as Stan had mentioned about My Three Sons, Lucy historically did very few, if any, real Christmas shows. Actually, they did one in 1956, and then she did another one in 1963, I believe. But most classic TV shows did not do a lot of holiday-themed things because the producers wanted to be free to have them be repeated throughout the year, and they didn't want to... It messed you up in those days to have a rerun in July, and it was a Christmas-themed show, so very few of them were done, actually. They did a lot of them on variety shows and that sort of thing, but usually the filmed shows, not so much.
Well, the Lucy Show did the dueling Christmas trees.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And that was in color, or was it not?
That was one of the black and white shows.
And
And mentioning that, if I may, put a plug in, there is an I Love Lucy Christmas special coming up on December 23rd that I've been involved with, and a company has colorized the I Love Lucy Christmas special from 1956, and they colorized Vitamin to Vegemite, and it went together.
And you are involved with that?
Yes.
Explain what your position?
Well, I don't do the coloring. They have people, actually they're all over the world who do these things, but I help CBS prepare the show and get it on the air. And there's a second one coming up for classic TV people.
Yeah.
Not a Lucy, but
Andy Griffith.
the Andy Griffith show. The Lucy shows have been done, this is the 3rd season, and they get such great ratings. No one ever dreamed that you could take classic television out of the vault and run it in prime time on a major network. It's never been done, but there again, Lucy leads the way. And it's been done for 3 years now. They get good numbers with it, and audiences are delighted, basically because of some of the things you've been saying earlier. They're good, clean family entertainment.
Right.
A lot of the mail that CBS gets are from parents, and they're saying there's so little on for us to see with the kids. And one mother wrote in after the first one and said that I put the show on in the den for my kids to watch, and I just sort of heard it. While I was wrapping presents, but by the time the show was over, I was sitting in there with them, laughing out loud as the show finished. So it's a show that brings families back together, and that's what most of the classic TV shows were all about. They were a group experience. It wasn't one kid watching in one room and somebody else watching in the other. We only had one TV when I was growing up.
Right.
It was in a family room or a
Right.
living room, and everybody watched the same show at the same time. And I think that was one of the magic about your classic television programs. They were designed that way to be something that a family could enjoy. But anyway, you wanted to know about Lucy and Christmas, and I don't have many personal things other than I had the privilege of working with her on our last series called Life with Lucy. And as our parting gift, we got canceled just about Christmas time, but she gave us watches, and mine's still running after 29 years.
Wow, that's so cool.
Anyway, you have any other?
Well, you just explain it, just briefly, who you were in her life and what you did and how you came to know her.
Well, I
Briefly.
met her through, I was working at CBS for many years, and she knew me that way, and Here's Lucy ended in 1974, and she was living happily but listlessly in retirement, and they invited her back to do another series in 1986, but by that time, a lot of the other people who had been working with her had either retired or passed away or otherwise gone out of the industry. And so she needed people, and so she was a kind of person that liked to have people around her that she knew and trusted, and I got the call, so I was very pleased, and again, using the word privileged to do that.
Sure. Sure.
And she trusted him.
Yes, and she trusted all of you. Frank, explain who you are in life. Explain. Explain.
Explain.
I'll try, yes, explain. Thank you, Desi. I was the chauffeur. I started off as a chauffeur, and how I got the position was I met a blonde in a bar. And,
Oh my.
it sounds like, where did you get that from? Well, it was Glendale, California, Rand's Roundup, and it was right up around the corner from my house. And I came from New York, and in New York you could drink when you were 18. In California you had to be 21. Fortunately, I was over 21, so I had no problem going in there. But in New York, we used to go in the little villages, and I lived in a little village up in Westchester County, and we would go Friday night to meet the girls. Of course, it was always to meet the guys, but it wasn't the guys we were going to meet, it was the girls. And so we would start there. So I assumed when I came to California it'd be the same situation. It wasn't. It was much different. You had to be 21, and of course all the action wasn't in the local bar, and especially at Rand's Roundup, because they served roast beef was the specialty. And if you ever ate there, it was very good roast beef. But I have no monetary investment in the restaurant.
But Lucy invested in you, and you were her confidant. So tell us what it was like being her trusted friend.
I would love to know,
Yes.
what is it about Lucy that we never would have known about her? Like you knew her personally. We've watched her for years. She's a brilliant, brilliant comedian, and her comedy, we're still teaching it in acting classes. But what, if there's anything that you can speak to without divulging any secrets, who was she behind the scenes?
One of the most marvelous persons I've ever met in my life, and I met quite a few of them. And she wasn't one of those, don't do that, don't do that. She just sort of let you go, and if you weren't doing it right.
There we go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Is that one on?
So how much was the roast beef?
Thank you very much.
We're all going for
Where was I?
Oh, we were talking about Lucy.
Lucy. I've worked for quite a few people, and I'll tell you, one of the greatest bosses that you and I would ever have in our lives. And I still say that. And it was so great because she passed away, and but she couldn't let me go for 3 more years. That's how attached we were to each other. And she was a wonderful person, and as I said, the greatest boss I ever had. And I've got to tell you a Christmas story since it's Christmas
Yes.
time. and it came up with the watch that Tom just mentioned. She called me in and she was playing backgammon, which she loved to do. And she said, could you do me a favor? I says, well, I can try. She says, there's some gold wrapping paper in the laundry room, which you go out and get it, bring it into the dining room, and she says there's 4 boxes in the dining room, and she says I want you to take one of those boxes, open it up, and take one of the boxes that are in there and wrap it for me. So I says, well, I'll try that. So I went and I got the gold paper. And I'll tell you, there's something about spending money on good gold paper. It wraps wonderfully well. And so I wrapped up one of the watches and I brought it in and I says, well, here it is. How does it look? She says, fine. She says, now there's 400 others in there that you can wrap up. And I didn't know that I would ever be a rapper, but
There you are.
that's the way it goes, yes.
Free
Well,
rap
great,
rapper.
great. Now, thank you, Frank. Frank Ford. Now,
I know
Michael,
about this number
Yeah.
one fan.
The number
How
one
do you-
fan, where did that
how
come
do you
from?
How do you become crowned Lucille Ball's number
Well,
one fan?
when I was a young kid, I was an outsider, but I was able to go to a filming. Is this on? Is this on?
Yes.
No, we can hear.
You
You can hear?
Okay.
Hello, hello.
Excuse
Okay.
them.
I was a fan that was able to go to a filming of Here's Lucy because my neighbor's mother's boss worked on the Here's Lucy show.
Mothers.
That's a major
My
connection.
mother's neighbor's boss worked
Okay.
on the Here's Lucy show and actually worked on Ida Lucy and the Lucy show, worked in the band or in the orchestra.
Wow.
And so I brought my scrapbook of photos. And afterwards, her mother used to go to every filming. And I went with my scrapbook of photos and she said, how would you like to meet Lucy after the show? So I got to meet Lucy after the show and she was really nice to me. She gave me a kiss and she signed an autograph for me and like she would never see me again, that type of, like
Bye-bye.
bye-bye. But she was so nice to me, memories for life. Then I happened to see her over and over again and finally she said, look, you could be my number one fan, so you better get a job and stay in school. And I did all that and I called her office and I got a job working at the May Company in North Hollywood and she came to make sure that I was working. So that's the type of lady she was.
What a beautiful
And
story.
if she was ever on a show, she would always, make sure that I had a ticket for the show. And there's a woman here in this audience right now who would always try to kick me out. She was an NBC page named Shelley Herman, who I wrote
Where
in
is
my
she?
book.
Oh my
Where's
God.
Shelley? Where's Shelley?
Shelley, I'm sorry, I'm gonna
She's
ask
the
you to
one who
leave.
tried to kick me out of NBC
Ooh,
as a little
Shelley.
kid.
You were underage.
I was underage.
You were roaming the hallways.
I was, but you know what? I got to do what I wanted to do.
There you
So,
go.
yeah.
Now, years later, you wrote your book.
I wrote a book that's authorized by her 2 kids, Lucy and Desi Jr. It's my life story with mostly about Lucille Ball, but backstage at NBC Studios or before I got kicked out, Shelley. And but just because I'm a fan and like seeing like Jerry Hauser here tonight, it's like, oh my gosh, I grew up, I wanted to marry Marsha, like that type thing. Yeah, and he got the job, it's like.
Did you audition for the
No,
job?
I was way too young,
Oh, okay.
way too
Now
young.
you're making Jerry
And the
Hauser.
Waltons and my 3 sons, it's
Amazing.
like, these are the shows. I'm the outsider who got to be a little bit connected, and Lucy, because I always went to filmings of TV shows, live TV shows. That's what I now do for a living. I work on a TV show called The Dr. Phil Show. Anyone heard of it? Yeah. It's been on for 14 years. I'm the audience producer, and I make sure that there's an audience every single day, which is easy to get tickets for that show. I mean, it's hard. I make it easy.
And by luck of the draw, he works at Paramount Studios that used to be Desi Lou, so he gets to walk down the walk, go right by her old dressing room. There's a Lucille Ball building.
Wow.
It's like You get paid
Yeah,
for that.
I get paid to be where
Uh-huh.
it's phenomenal. So, but
Do you
because of
appreciate
Lucy-
that every day that you walk by?
Absolutely, you never get take it for granted.
Now, and we have your book here for
What's it
your
called?
sign. It's
I
I
Had
Had
a
a Ball.
Ball.
There
I
it
Had a
is
Ball.
right there. And he will be available along with all the other celebrity authors and producers. Now we have some DVDs of I Love Lucy. So Lucy was just an amazing talent. She sang, she danced, she acted, she did everything. And she also had a great respect for others who were talented. And I know that
Especially for this man.
yeah, I know that she
Thank you.
respected each of you, I'm sure.
And
So
that
thank
man,
you.
too.
Thank you so very much for this evening. And please stick around and have a nice hand. The Lucy Brigade.